we have different jihadis that want to kill me. The purple-haired jihadis, the woke guys.
Well, they want to kill me just as bad.
Probably.
Oh, they really do.
No, you've been very outspoken on the woke stuff. Big time.
Yes. I mean, and they, just the way within a religion, they hate their own apostates more. I would say they hate me more because I'm supposed to like get on the short bus to Crazy Town with them, and I won't. And yet I'm still a liberal and still like, you know, I mean, we probably could argue all day about Donald Trump and what he's doing, which I'm not down with. But, you know, it's always the people who are closest who think, oh gosh, you shouldn't have.
All right, folks, hold on to your seats because recently, well-known comedian Bill Maher made headlines when he sat down on national TV to talk about one of the most controversial dinners ever. Yes, a dinner with none other than Donald Trump, which alone raised eyebrows. But the drama that followed was even more surprising, as Maher, never shy about stirring the pot, dropped truth bombs about what he sees as the hypocrisy of liberal culture today, leaving everyone talking, laughing, and maybe even fuming.
MAGA fans, don't worry. Your boy gave me nothing. Just hats. Hats and a very generous amount of time and a willingness to listen and accept me as a possible friend, even though I'm not MAGA, which was the point of the dinner. My favorite part of the whole night was we were standing in the row. We were. And he said, you know, I've heard from a lot of people who really like that we're having this dinner. Not all, but a lot. And I said, same. A lot of people told me they loved it, but not all. And we agreed. The people who don't even want us to talk, we don't like you. Don't talk, as opposed to what? Writing the same editorial for the millionth time and making 25-hour speeches into the wind? Really, that's what liberals have? He takes the out of everybody else and we can...
He vented his frustrations, but what really stirred the pot was fellow comedian Larry David's explosive reaction, branding Maher as a traitor to the liberal cause and treating the mere act of having a meal with Trump as a political disaster. Yet Maher, emphasizing freedoms and open dialogue, stood firm against the backlash, even claiming he felt more at ease chatting with Trump than with some Democratic heavyweights like Obama and Clinton.
I never felt I had to walk on eggshells around him. And honestly, I voted for Clinton and Obama, but I would never feel comfortable talking to them the way I was able to talk with Donald Trump. That's just how it went down. Make of it what you will. Me, I feel it's emblematic of why the Democrats are so unpopular these days. He was even okay when I checked him on the orangutan lawsuit. He was. No, he said to Dana White, you know, Bill said my father was an orangutan and I really love my father. And I said, well, Mr. President, I did that because I didn't like what you were doing regarding Obama's birth origins. I thought that was low. Again, no anger, just a little smile as if to say,
that's a twist nobody saw coming. And for those who crave unfiltered truths and opinions that challenge the norm, this story is a must-follow. The ongoing clash between Bill Maher and what many are calling the woke mob intensified after Maher's explosive dinner with Donald Trump, sparking Larry David's fiery backlash and raising questions about liberal identity. Yet Maher, unapologetically outspoken, didn't shy away from addressing his critics, framing the left's reaction as a prime example of cancel culture in action, and reminding everyone that hearing the full story is only possible if you stay tuned.
Because they thought you were one of them and that...
I am one of them. They're not one of me. I'm okay. It's the liberals who have...
So they've left you, not you left.
Yeah, well, I feel like there's... Liberal and woke are two completely different things. It was the theme of my last stand-up special that I just did a few months ago. And it's basically... I mean, it wasn't the whole special, of course, but it was a large part of it devoted to that, to proving that case that, you know, what liberals believe, woke is something completely different. It's very often the opposite of it. You know, liberalism is let's live in a colorblind society. That's the goal. Woke's goal is we see race everywhere.
Race obsession.
Yes. Okay. So that's not liberal. You change. Liberal is there a two-state solution. Woke is river to the sea, okay? So just don't take my word and say you're.
It wasn't just a difference of opinion, it was an attempt to police Maher's speech and silence a divergent voice. And at the center of this cultural explosion was Larry David, who didn't just disagree quietly but made his backlash loud, fiery, and impossible to ignore. 11 billones.
Larry David, because you're friends, aren't you? Were you friends? Are you friends?
Yes, of course. I mean, this wasn't, my favorite moment of our friendship, but, look, I don't want to get in too much into that, but I think the minute you play the Hitler card,
That's what I think.
you've lost the argument.
Yes.
And also, I must say, come on, man. Hitler, Nazis, nobody has been harder about and more prescient, I must say, about Donald Trump than me. I don't need to be lectured on who Donald Trump is. Just the fact that I met him in person didn't change that. And the fact that I reported honestly is not a sin either. But, to use the Hitler thing, first of all, I just think it's kind of insulting to 6 million
Yes.
dead Jews, that should kind of be in its own place.
No, Larry David went public, blasting Maher in a way that grabbed everyone's attention, turning what might have been a difference of opinion into a full-blown spectacle, as he framed Maher's dinner with Trump as a shocking betrayal of their shared liberal values, even tossing in extreme comparisons like calling Trump a modern-day Hitler. Yet Maher, known for his quick wit and sarcasm, didn't back down, pointing out that these reactions were about intimidation, essentially saying, "Defy us at your peril," and stood firm, framing the clash not just as a personal battle but as a defense of liberalism itself, which he accused of being hijacked by woke ideologues.
And they should. But,
Not the 10%, but that's 10%.
but they're very loud.
They're very loud, but that's it. And I, as FDR once said, I welcome their hatred, because they're just, first of all, they have no integrity. They don't ever present the full argument. They just cherry pick. I mean, everybody does it to everybody, so I'm not saying I'm unique here, but that is part of the problem of our discourse, is that everybody just wants to forward their narrative. No one is really interested in the full truth, just the truth.
This whole event spotlighted the simmering division within liberalism itself. On one side, traditional liberals who value dialogue, free speech, and debate, frustrated by the authoritarian tone of what they see as woke culture. On the other, those vocal about enforcing what they believe modern progressivism should look like, prioritizing adherence to correct stances on social issues and shutting down opposing viewpoints. Maher framed this ideological battle as a broader question about public discourse in America, asking whether one can truly claim to be liberal while actively suppressing differing ideas, and provocatively noting that he found it easier to have a down-to-earth conversation with Trump than with leaders supposedly on his own political team, challenging assumptions about what liberalism has become. He also highlighted a free speech crisis, emphasizing that freedom of speech isn't just the liberty to agree but to disagree. Yet in today's charged climate, every word risks public outrage, and open dialogue, critical thinking, and diversity of thought are threatened by ideological purists seeking to silence discourse. Maher's dinner saga, then, wasn't about masking old rifts but about sparking genuine conversations on cultural clashes. And while some observers might find it exhausting, for Maher and his supporters, these confrontations are essential to force traditional liberalism and woke culture to confront their differences.
The message of this is not to, because Bill Maher, first of all, I totally agree. He's totally in the right to do it, and I loved his monologue. But this isn't about that dinner. It's about the next one, because this is the modern left. It's an attempt always to intimidate people into not ever doing it again. It's to silence yourselves, or we'll do it for you. That's the purpose of this op-ed, so that the next comedian or the next person on the American left chooses not to speak to Donald Trump. This is all an effort to get people not to do what you just said, which is to talk to each other.
We have to address the elephant in the room. The Nazi comparisons thrown around by Larry David, which Maher saw as a real bombshell that crossed a line into lazy and dangerous rhetoric, since such comparisons not only distort historical understanding but often serve as conversation enders. And to Maher and others who value intellectual debate, equating a simple dinner to such horrific events was not only inappropriate, but also an insult to meaningful discourse.
And it's obviously on the spiritual religious stuff. But when you spoke against the woke, that for me was a proving moment.
No,
And I have to say something. and this is 100% true, you had more moral courage than pastors that I know that went along with
Well,
the woke
thank you.
crazy train. And you deserve credit for
I
that
appreciate
because it was
that.
of high cost.
Until we get rid of that, they're never going to win another election.
I agree. They're not going to take political advice from me.
To the Maher David saga poured in from all corners, showing it wasn't just a clash between two comedians but a flashpoint for broader debates on free speech and ideological enforcement. Commentators like CNN's Scott Jennings condemned David's outrage as an intimidation tactic, designed to make Maher and anyone daring to cross perceived enemy lines a cautionary tale, reflecting a societal trend where dialogues that don't fit certain narratives are shut down before they even begin. Maher, however, remained unshaken, framing the incident as a microcosm of what happens to prominent voices like Joe Rogan, Elon Musk, and RFK Jr., who've been labeled persona non grata for challenging woke orthodoxy, and stressing that for politics and culture to improve, dissenting voices need hearing rather than instant dismissal. While he still identifies as liberal, Maher draws a sharp distinction between genuine liberalism rooted in dialogue and debate and what he dubs wokeness, which weaponizes moral authority to silence opposing views. The controversy highlights how healthy discourse is threatened when disagreements are framed as moral failings. And Maher's dinner with Trump, rather than an act of betrayal, becomes a case study in cancel culture, punishing dissent instead of fostering conversation. Throughout, Maher emphasized that a thriving liberal democracy should be a beacon for diverse voices clashing and collaborating, not an echo chamber, presenting his confrontation with David as a necessary spark to ignite debate within the fold, and inviting observers to consider whether this turmoil is justified and how steadfastness versus confrontation should be judged in today's polarized